In the last video, I talked about Jeyi's obsession with Seulgi and mentioned the Cain and Abel story that her father ingrained in her mind. And in this week's episodes, we got so many details that help us understand why Jeyi is the way she is. I'm pretty happy that my analysis was right as I watched episode 12. This week, there was a strong focus on the dynamic between Jeyi, her sister Gina, and their father. It's really interesting. Also, I've read the webtoon, and I have to say, all the characters are very well adapted. But if you're watching the show and thinking about reading the webtoon to find out what happens next, don't. It's actually different from the show. Surprisingly, even Jeyi's character in the webtoon is quite different. You wouldn't really see her as the cold ice queen or a walking red flag most of the time. But of course, whether Jeyi is a red flag or not depends on who you ask. This character is being widely celebrated online, and I get why. Obsession in shows and movies is often romanticized because it feeds into the fantasy of a bad person turning good for their favorite woman. Or, the classic trope of an overprotective love interest who's obsessed with the main lead. There's a strong psychological reason why people are drawn to obsessive, protective characters, even when they hurt others. A simple reason could be that many people crave deep, intense love, the kind where they become someone's entire world. And this doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic relationship. We see this dynamic in friendships, sibling relationships, and even between parents and children, like in this show. Gina, from the very first scene, is shown to be much stronger and more capable than Jeyi. She was her father's favorite, and Jeyi's interest in art upset him. We see Gina beating Jeyi in mathematics. But in reality, Gina lets Jeyi win. She doesn't want to hurt her. She wants to protect the family. She doesn't want to be the one holding the stick to punish Jeyi for failing in this constant competition between them. Jeyi herself calls it the good daughter syndrome. Again, the biblical story of Cain and Abel comes into play. Jeyi doesn't want to end up as Abel, so she distances herself from Gina. But ironically, Gina is actually the good one, the Abel in the story, and she starts to see Jeyi becoming her Cain. Their father's obsession with Jeyi is also really interesting. He sees himself in her. He's willing to give up Gina, but not Jeyi. And Gina, who was trying so hard to keep the family together, starts wishing for something else when Jeyi no longer needs her. She begins praying for a terminal illness, hoping her parents and sister will finally pity her. Most likely, she was so used to being the invisible child in the family that now she actually wants to disappear. All she wants is a little attention from her father and sister. Even in the scene where Jeyi shows concern for Gina in her own way, it's clear their bond is broken. When Gina asks Jeyi to sit and spend time with her, Jeyi refuses. But Gina does get her father's attention, only when she gets diagnosed with narcolepsy. Well, I asked ChatGPT about narcolepsy, and it's a sleep disorder that makes people feel extremely sleepy during the day, no matter how much rest they get. They might suddenly fall asleep without warning, even in the middle of a conversation or while doing something important. Some people also experience muscle weakness when they feel strong emotions, like what we see in the church scene. Others may have vivid dreams or feel temporarily paralyzed when waking up or falling asleep. It's a lifelong condition with no cure, but medications and lifestyle adjustments can help manage the symptoms. And in Gina's case, we see her father apologizing to her for not diagnosing it earlier. The thing with Jeyi's father is that he built this hospital empire, something he dedicated his entire life to. His passion for medicine has been there since he was a kid, and he wants to pass this empire on to one of his daughters, whoever proves to be the best. He pits them against each other, and in this scene, he puts his bets on Gina, saying she shouldn't let Jeyi take all the glory. Gina, who had been ignored her whole life, finally gets her father's attention, but it becomes completely overwhelming for her. She's suddenly put in Jeyi's position, and she hates it. The constant surveillance, the tight grip her father has over her, it becomes suffocating. Even in this scene, we see Gina thanking the professors for not giving up on her, because she knows that if she isn't the fittest to survive, her father will give up on her. Deep down, he knows Gina is just as gifted in academics as Jeyi, but she's softer. And right after this, in the very next shot, we see their father standing in the same room, like he is watching everything. This perfectly shows how much control he has over his daughter's lives. That same need for control is deeply ingrained in Jeyi, too. She tracks Seulgi, manipulates people, provides drugs, recording compromising videos. She makes sure everything and everyone is in her control. Even in this scene, we hear Jeyi say that she often imagines her dog dying so that when it actually happens, it'll be easier to handle. And then she confesses that lately, she's even been imagining Seulgi dying. Once again, the Cain and Abel story comes into play. Jeyi doesn't want to be Abel, the one who gets killed. Her father told her she could be killed by her sister, and now even by Seulgi. Since Seulgi could also be the Cain in her life, Jeyi believes she has to become even stronger, become the bad person, the one who is easier to forget. And when Jeyi tells Seulgi, if her father had been a great person, it would have been even worse for her. we see her own reflection in that statement. She wants to be the bad one, the one her sister and now Seulgi can easily forget and move on from. Even in previous episodes and in my last video, I've talked about many dream sequences. One that really stood out was Jeyi sinking to the bottom of the ocean, weighed down by heavy armor. But instead of struggling, she sits there peacefully, eyes closed, with a pleasant smile. On the other hand, whenever we see Seulgi underwater, she's always hyperactive. Jeyi called this a revelation from God, as if she had been shown a place where she doesn't have to be either Cain or Abel. But in the episode 12 dream sequence, for the first time, Jeyi actually sees herself unalive her sister, just like Cain did to Abel. She believes she's responsible for Gina's death. In reality, when Jeyi sent her sister to the locker room to save Seulgi, she also wanted to save Jaina. She thought that if the police caught Jaina with substances, she'd be much safer than if their father got to her first. At this point, their father didn't even know where Jaina was yet. We see this in the scene where Jeyi confronts him. So yeah, Jeyi did want to protect her sister, but things didn't go as planned. Also, I think by now, most people have figured out that Jaina isn't actually dead. There's a high chance she's alive somewhere, and their father, who is a top-tier plastic surgeon, may have used his skills to disguise the body of Seulgi's old bully as Gina's. The clues Seulgi is piecing together are hard to ignore. We've also seen a growing sense of understanding between Seulgi and Jeyi this week. Seulgi can finally fully trust Jeyi now that she knows the truth about her father and Jaina. They've been comforting each other in different ways. Even in this scene, we see Jeyi breaking the violin bow is a huge moment. This is the same violin that Jaina kept safe, even though Jeyi wanted to throw it away. Jeyi had been trying to erase her artistic side, but Jaina saving it all this time was a clear sign of her love. And now, after her death, Jeyi breaking the bow shows that something inside her has completely shattered something that can't be fixed. But interestingly, in the manhwa, Jeyi actually comes across as softer but also more manipulative. Her friendship with Seulgi builds up more gradually, and there's even a pinky promise scene. And honestly, I cannot imagine this version of Jeyi doing something like that. Other characters like Seulgi, Hyeri, and Gyeong, though, are spot on. Since we're heading into the final week of the show, here's my prediction. Jeyi's sister is actually not dead. In the webtoon, she does die, but since the show has already changed so much, I still have hope that Jaina will survive. Out of everyone, she's the last person who deserves to die. Oh, and before I wrap this up, I just want to clarify something. I've seen people online saying that the webtoon is GL, and after reading it myself, it's not. If anything, the show actually has more GL-coded scenes than the webtoon. There are a few more things I want to say, but they'd be spoilers, so I'll save them for later. That's it for this video. Do let me know if you like it, that would motivate me to make more such videos. Thanks for watching.